teachers make a lasting impact. So many people can point back to people who have invested their lives in training the next generation. There's so much remarkable work that is being done by teachers around the world. But there are parts of the system itself that are broken. Public education has been around for generations. For nearly as long, we've heard about the shortfall of aspects of the education system. And while the problems seem to persist, so does the pursuit of solutions and innovation. Whether it's in our neighborhood or around the world, incredible advances are happening at just about every level. But there can be more. Technology has increased access to information, but it's not only about providing that access, it's also about bringing the right systems around it. Faith-driven investors are standing in the gap to create movements that are transforming education as we know it. Let's watch the story of Movement Schools.
The education system is broken in many different ways, whether it's a lack of resources or a lack of opportunities or a lack of choices. But when you get granular and you really look deeper, the system is broken because there are people that truly believe that based on the color of their skin or their background, their zip code, that they cannot achieve. Like, they really believe that in their heart. But it's gonna come out when we celebrate a low bar. So what makes movement different is that we have a extremely high bar of excellence and deep belief in the children that we serve. What makes movement different is that we don't operate in this savior mentality and complex that, like, without us, there would, what would this community do? Instead, we operate that we are a part of the community. We are a part of solving a problem. We are not the problem solvers. We are a part of the community. We are a part of closing an educational gap because it's something that our students deserve, not something that is like charity work for us. It makes us feel good. That's what makes movement different.
We came up with the name Movement because we truly wanted to be a movement of change. Things were broken in banking in 2007 and 2008, and we wanted to change Americans' perception of what banks can and should, in fact, be. To do that, we had to move them from a perception of brokenness, of greed, and take them into a place of seeing a financial institution like Movement as a real beacon of hope in communities, one that brings capital and now even education to communities in need.
So part of why the Movement Foundation chose education is we think it's just an amazing way to pour into the lives of young people that's going to set them up for success over the rest of their lives. And so for us, education is just a great way to love and value people and love and value the communities where we do business.
So I actually thought it was cool that they wanted to do that. Of course, I had questions about, like, how are you doing that? And then worked with the organization to try to, like, weave it together and really make that connection live. And we're doing that now. So, for example, staff members, family members, and eventually scholars, when they qualify for a Movement mortgage loan, Movement Mortgage is going to help, their down payment towards purchasing a home. It's like, yeah, you could work on education, but if someone's home environment isn't where it needs to be, they have a step forward with education, but they would have 2 steps forward if you address housing as well.
Schools really just grabbed my heart. I mean, they really resonated to me, and I saw a model that was scalable, that was real estate centric, and it would create generational impact in the lives of the children that we serve.
So, one of the things that I think is the most exciting here is this idea of patient capital that people talk about. It's the idea that if you're willing to invest something and not expect a massive return immediately, you can actually see it have, I think, a huge impact on the communities where you're investing, but also see a return on that money. So what Casey has done through Movement Mortgage is he said, look, let's buy, a distressed asset, a building that's not benefiting the community. Let's turn it into a great charter school. And then he says, though, let's be patient. We're going to charge way below market rate rent. And that helps the school operate every year. That's money in the school's pocket that they don't have to go out and raise. At the same time, there's benefit to owning that asset. As the schools grow, we can pay rent to where we are seeing a return on that.
A study was done, and they did research to determine the likelihood of a city's upward mobility. Charlotte was ranked least likely. So based on where you are from, least likely to have upward mobility, like to actually get out of your situation. Movement schools are all in Charlotte right now. But where to start is folks actually knowing that there is opportunity for upward mobility. We believe that when we do that, we're truly gonna play a major role in that research that was shown.
I think one of the things that's unique about movement is the way it can bring philanthropic and business investment together with government investment. And I think that's really driven by movement's vision. If the only vision was how can we maximize shareholder return every quarter, there's not a lot of room for a partnership like this. But the vision of movement is, look, let's do well as a business, let's be profitable, but also let's look at how much can we pour into the communities where we work, and ultimately, how can we use this entire business to honor God and love our neighbor.
Something that really drove me to movement was, I remember Tim was sharing with me that lunch was actually provided by two guys in the kitchen, which was a local Black-owned business in the community. I was deeply connected to movement when I heard that. And that's one of the very few ways in which we do partner with the community, but it's so powerful and impactful that it's not just beneficial for us, because yes, we gotta feed kids, but like how beneficial that was to that organization and now what they're able to do.
These kids, we realize that the majority of them come from under the poverty level, and that sometimes this may be the only meal that they eat. And when you know that, there is a different heart that goes into that food. Movement Schools has decided that they wanted to help a community, and they want to help that community through education. And by them doing that, it has opened up the doors for us to be able to help the community in other ways, economically. And a lot of the parents, we started learning in the first few years, would come to us and say, I need a job. Is there something I can do? And we're able now to hire from this community that movement is also serving, and we get to serve these people and providing them areas of stability that some have never seen. And that is what makes movement special. We have something that is building unity in a way that our world is still catching up with.
So at the Movement Foundation, we're so encouraged to see returns in a lot of different areas where we invest. The number one return is what we're seeing in the lives of the students and the families who are part of movement schools. We want to see our kids and their families thrive. The other place we see a return is on the investments that we make in our movement school properties. They're able to pay rent back to the foundation, which helps us build even more schools going forward. And then finally, that Movement Mortgage is a thriving and growing business. And I believe they all feed into each other. So the employees at Movement Mortgage, one of the things I love to see is they get so excited to see the success of our schools and their students, and they're cheering for them. For the students and the parents at Movement Schools, they're so excited to see Movement Mortgage do well, serve their customers well. And it's rare you see sort of this bigger community cheering for each other. We've got the mortgage, we've got the schools, we've got the foundation, and we like to think of it as just one big movement community.
This August, we are now adding an elementary school. So that would be 3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, and 3 pre-K campuses as well. So a total of 7 different campuses.
And so when we step in and build these schools, we are actually able to provide our education solutions at 65 cents on the dollar that the traditional public school gets. Now, every one of our schools is tuition free. They are public. They're free to any kid in the school district. Now, the beautiful thing is, with that 65 cents, in just our 4th year of operation, we're having 400% better academic results. That means we're saving the taxpayer 35 cents in every education dollar, and we're having 4x the performance on those dollars invested. We think that's meaningful, both for the kids and for stewarding the dollar of every taxpayer in our state.
Casey dreams big, and he dreams big, and he thinks about everyone in his dream. His dream isn't about him as an individual. What I appreciate about Casey's dreams is that his dreams is about truly providing opportunity so that others can actually do what he does. And that's different. A lot of folks can just give money to a certain organization and a certain cause. What he creates is opportunity so that you can become a multiplier.
One of the things that encourages us most is seeing people act. This is a perfect story of that. There's also some incredible work being done by entrepreneurs to create better tools. Let's watch the story of a fund that sprung up with a focus on innovations in education. The founders have a heart for the next generation and are driven to help them by their faith in God.
I really believe that education is at the heart of people achieving their God-given potential and developing the knowledge and skills that they ultimately need to serve each other well. And I firmly believe that the private sector and capital has really important roles to play in terms of driving innovation and pushing the boundaries of human progress. So I'm originally from Taiwan. I had the opportunity to grow up across 3 different continents, Africa, Asia, and North America. And early on, I really saw how an individual's access to quality education really shaped his or her life and had all of these implications for how society developed.
My parents grew up in the Philippines, a developing part of the world in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and education really was their bridge to come to the US, and that really paved the path for myself and my siblings to grow up in New Jersey. Went to college at Princeton University, and I met Victor over a decade ago from a mutual friend who also worked at Goldman Sachs, and at that time really found a common bond in our interest in the education sector, and also over time realized our deep relationship with Christ, which really became the centerpiece for our friendship and our relationship now.
We started Lumos Capital Group to be a growth equity partner to companies in the sector of education, what we've broadly called human capital development.
It's often said that talent is equally distributed, but opportunity is not. And so for us to fulfill our mission to be servant leaders, we believe that what Lumos can do is unlock that talent and that opportunity together, whether it's early education, K-12, higher education, workforce development. We see massive opportunities in really connecting education into employment.
So we're very excited about many of the opportunities that we see in the marketplace today. We're seeing the opportunity to democratize tutoring, for example, and make tutoring services more available through the school district to all kinds of families who historically did not have access to tutoring services to improve literacy or math. We see new technologies like virtual reality create opportunities for individuals to transform their careers.
I think education generally and education technology specifically are 2 of the most exciting spaces for faith-driven investors right now. Education obviously is central to human flourishing and opportunity. Every kid deserves an equal opportunity. Every kid has inherent talent. And even adults as they age and need to be retrained, need to enter different fields, need education so that they can continue to flourish in their professional lives, to continue to better themselves and really achieve the dreams that they have. And the investors who are investing in that space, folks like Lumos Capital, are really driving that innovation in a way that's constructive rather than destructive, and trying to focus on things that show a love of neighbor in the work that they do.
Our first cohort of folks had a group of adult learners, none of whom had a 4-year degree. And so that group of learners put on the headset, they learned the skills, and then once they took off the headset, they had to demonstrate those skills in front of the employer, and they all received a job offer. And the job offer gave them health benefits, And one of the great things about working with these big multinational companies is they'll actually pay for your higher ed as well. And so almost overnight, the fortunes of these individuals have changed.
Well, I think that Lumos is at the forefront of one of the very most important fields right now, which is the advancement of human flourishing through training, through education, through developing the human character. And I think that James and Victor are uniquely equipped to lead that. That is their foundation. James and Victor just have a different focus than a lot of the investors out there. And the heart of what they do really informs the technical proficiency with which they operate.
I hope and pray that through the work that we're doing with Lumos and our investments, through the work that our companies are doing, that people can live lives of greater prosperity and flourishing and be in a place where they can ultimately fulfill God's calling in their lives.
We've created this opportunity for people to show everyone their true potential. And so that's come through with some of the students that we work with that may be differently able, they might have disabilities. And so when they put on the headset, not only are they able to acquire the skills, but they're able to figure out that they themselves can do this job that they knew nothing about.
I do believe that everything that God's given us in terms of our experiences, in terms of our capital, is not meant for our own enjoyment and pleasure alone, but it is our role, it's our privilege to be able to take that hand of blessing and use those gifts to bless others. And whether it be the capital that He's given us or the experiences that He's had us live through, we can use every one of those things to be able to invest in the marketplace so that people can really reach their human potential, so that this vast human capital that exists all around us can be unlocked. And I think that ultimately should have longer lasting kingdom oriented effects.
On the Faith Driven Investor website, you can find a list of some fund managers who are looking to make a deeper impact in the area of education. Funds that invest in underprivileged or disadvantaged segments of society are often in funds where minimum investments, liquidity, and hold times vary. So you'll want to be sure to consult with your advisor as to what investments make the most sense for you. Another opportunity is to connect and partner with like-minded faith-driven investors who share a passion to solve one of these injustices. Sharpening each other through content, conversation, and diving into a community of like-minded investors that might deploy capital to solve these problems. If you're not currently connected to a group of peers and fellow believers, go to faithdriveninvestor.org to find one that fits your needs and your schedule. We'll see you next time.
Faith Driven Investor is a discipleship ministry from Faith Driven Movements, a non-profit corporation whose mission is to inspire and mobilize people to use their time, talent, and resources to impact the world around them. The materials are for informational purposes only. All investing carries risk, so be sure to consult an advisor before making any investment decisions. Hosts and guests may maintain positions in the companies and securities discussed. For all other questions, please visit faithdriveninvestor.org.